We get a lot of questions from people who are shopping online and they see things like pre-foreclosure and they see foreclosures out there. So what happens with foreclosure is that the bank has a lien on the property, and when the mortgage doesn't get paid, they'll try to collect the mortgage payments. But if they can't collect the mortgage payments or work out a situation with the homeowner, they'll start the foreclosure process, and they actually put what's called a lis pendens. It's basically they filed a litigation on the property, and they send it to the courts. The courts notify them by putting a notice on the door that the house is going to be auctioned if they don't, if they don't come current on their mortgage. And sometimes these get canceled, right? Homeowners can short sale the property, which means they can sell the house for lower than what's owed on the mortgage to avoid this whole thing, to stay out of foreclosure. But sometimes they end up at the county auction, and that's what we just left. 165.2.
165.2. He said 165,200.
166,000.
166.
And they're like, I don't know, there was probably about 8 different people there to bid on the house that we bid on. Houses go into foreclosure basically. This particular house, the owner had passed away. He left behind a mortgage or 2, and the family, there's mold in the basement. There's a bunch of repairs that need to be done. So the family's not going to fix it up. They're just going to let it go into foreclosure because it's probably not worth what he owes on it. And at the courthouse auctions, you have to pay cash for them. You can't go get a mortgage on it. It's one of those situations where it's a limited pool of buyers, of people who can buy them. And that's why having a home equity line of credit is such a good thing, because you have access to cash, but you don't have to use it. You see a lot of misinformation out there about foreclosures and pre-foreclosures on websites like Zillow.com, where they say pre-foreclosure. Well, it could just be that somebody refinanced their house and the payoff hit after the due date, which caused it to show up as a missed payment. But in actuality, it takes, from the time you see something goes from pre-foreclosure to the actual courthouse steps, it's probably a good 6 months before it'll ever get to the auction. And there's a lot of things that can happen in 6 months. They can come current on their mortgage, where they pay everything that's due on it. Could just be misinformation. So Lakeside Park, it's the 41017 zip code. One of the, it's pretty desirable, a lot of interest in it. And that's kind of why I'm interested in it. So a couple of things about this place. I have a little insider knowledge because I was under contract on it. I've walked through it before when it was listed 2 years ago or 3 years ago now. The driveway's busted. It's got mold in the basement, which is why I'm super interested in it, because that might scare some people off if they're aware of it. We're gonna do a quick walk around just to make sure that there's nothing that's gone on that's weird before we go in and bid on this place. So you can see all this stuff on the front door. You've got all these foreclosure notices on the front door. We'll get a shot of that so you can see what that looks like. So obviously, Solid Foundation has been here to evaluate the foundation. Code enforcement, probably due to grass. Cut and maintain the lawn. There's no auction notice on here. Here's the auction notice right here. So you can see, getting auctioned off today at 10 a.m. This is where we're headed. And then they always put on these auction notices, I don't know if they put it on here or not, there's usually an amount somewhere. Right there. So that's a number that the bank sees as that they need to get back, but there's also attorney's fees and other sums and judgments that are going to be in there. So it's going to go way higher than that. The property's assessed at $180, and 2/3 of that is $120,000. So my guess is we're going to need to pay at least $120,000, or the state of Kentucky has a right of redemption period where the old buyer could come back and buy it back from us. So it's going to go for at least $120. My guess is that Wells Fargo is going to be there. They're going to start the bidding at that, if I had to take a wild guess. And I don't know. I've got a number in my head that I want to hit. We'll see if we get there. So having a little insider knowledge on this place, I wanted to check this out before the auction. You can tell at the bottom of this stairwell here that leads into the basement, that drain at the bottom of the stairwell is clogged up. That's why the basement's leaking and taking on water. This basement is full of mold. We can fix that. We've got resources here that can take care of mold remediation and demolition of the basement, so we can fix that, but it's got to start right here at this stairwell. So if we win this auction today, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get that drain taken care of. We're going to clear that out so that everything can flush out of here. The other thing I want to point out is it's funny when you investigate houses like this, you can kind of tell some certain things. Somebody has taken their hand and put it on this window here. Somebody has tried to get into the house to look at it before the auction. You can tell that's a fresh handprint right there, and they're trying to check and see if they can get into it before the auction. Service cable right there. It's a 200 amp service cable, and it's all frayed out. If a rainstorm hits, that water can get down inside there. It runs inside the meter box, and it'll actually travel all the way down into the electrical panel in the basement. To replace a service cable like that's about $1,000. And I'm thinking probably 8 to 10 grand for the driveway, probably about 12 grand for the basement, if I had to take a wild guess on just the big ticket items that need to be done. The roof looks good. There's another issue on why there might be some water in the foundation. The gutters are pouring out right there at the corner